Yendo number uno, yes number uno, yeah. Number uno, yendo number uno.
See chocha. What is working in my life, working in my life.
Praise the Lord, and thank you for joining us once again for another episode of ANGAZA Show. My name is Pastor Mwangi, and today we are so privileged to be in a new environment. This is Zeneria Suits Hotel. And so today we want to discuss about Beyond the Cut. There's been conversation whereby I saw this conversation especially among the central Kenyan people who are saying the matters of circumcision should be led to the elders and let the church do discipleship. And we've seen so many churches taking responsibilities and saying, you know what, it's our role for us to raise a whole person, so we need to participate in the cut or in the circumcision. This is a serious traditional practice, of course, narrowed and a traditional practices of initiation. Consider that once you are cut, you enter into manhood and maturity. Those that have gone through the traditional process, sometimes there is a conflict between what the church teaches and what our traditions tend to teach, and also the definition of manhood from a biblical perspective and also from a traditional perspective. And so today, we want to delve into this matter and ask ourselves, what is the role of the church? What should happen beyond the cut? Because the reality is December is a serious time. So we want to look, what is the role of the church and how can the church still work together with the society? Because these children belong to the society. And how far should our traditions go? And what are some of these possibly traditions we might look at and say this is helpful, this is not helpful? Because again, not everything in our tradition is wrong, but we know some things are equally very off. So we'll be having this conversation, we'll be having it with a man of God. So see you immediately after this musical break with DJ Tuff. So thank you very much if you're joining us right now. My name is Pastor Mwangi. This is ANGAZA Show. And so today we want to have a very serious conversation on what we are calling Beyond the Cut. Why are we calling it Beyond the Cut? Because we know December is very busy with circumcisions. And the church has become very much involved to a point I had some elders, community elders saying, kanisa ifanye kazi yao, na wazee wafanye kazi yao. So I want to have this conversation, is a pastor to pastor conversation, just to see what's the role of the church. Bwana asifiwe sana mchungaji.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor T.
Yes, maybe let's just begin with an introduction, who you are and where you pastor.
All right.
Yes.
All right. My name is Pastor J.P. Shikuku. I'm the lead pastor at Royal Celebration Center. Church is along Wayaki Way. And I'm so excited to join you on this show today.
Yeah.
Yes.
By the verdict of Shikuku, already we can profile you.
Exactly.
You know, one politician said your name betrays you. And Shikuku tunajua circumcision in Western. I think if there is an area where circumcision is Western Kenya.
Western Kenya. Absolutely. You're right.
Yes.
Yes, we actually take it on a serious note because that is where the entire community comes together on a very important transition within the lives of their young men, and trying to ensure that they go through this process in a very thorough, because again, as a community, we have a lot of entrenchment in the cultural beliefs. Our culture is very strong, especially around circumcision, and people value it. In fact, even those within the Christian circles, they still value the circumcision traditional way. So for us, when you talk about that transition, the circumcision, I think this is a very critical thing.
In fact, they say there are 4 areas where we always find conflict between Christianity and culture. During birth, during circumcision, during marriage, and during burials. And wacha tuangalie too openly, because again, we can't put culture in one basket, not to say all culture is bad. Let's look at the good of the culture when it comes to circumcision. What are some of the things that we can point to say, if we maintain this, we're on the right road?
Yeah, let me just try to put like my own culture, because
Yes.
I think it's a process that personally I went through when I was young, and when I was going through the whole transition process. And there are things that are very critical, especially in terms of the values that we were being brought to realization, the things that we're being taught. There are very serious teachings in relating to issues around responsibility that are very critical for any young man to be able to embrace. And for us, when we were going through that, we spent like a whole week going through that training, and just having elders come and giving us a picture of what family is like and how you can be able to become a responsible young man. And all that, I think for me, they were important lessons. However, as much as they were good lessons...
So part of the lessons
Yes.
were, sorry to interject,
Yeah.
it was how to be a man,
Yes,
how to be a responsible
Yes.
family man.
exactly.
Before we go to the
Yes.
teachings,
Yes.
let's go to the process.
Yes, yes. The process is very spiritual. It starts from a process where there is a lot of attachment to the old, the traditional gods, in the sense that they begin to be invoked at a stage when you are starting to go to bring the people. You begin to call the community, the friends, the family, the relatives. Then you go through a process where there are certain animals that are supposed to be slaughtered in terms of appeasing.
Okay.
And so they do that process. There is a communication.
Which are these animals?
Actually, we use bulls.
Okay.
We use bulls, and specific bulls, not just any bull. So they are very specific on a bull that needs to be slaughtered. And then there are elders that are called, like in our very specific clan of Bukusus, because I am one. They call the elders, and then they come over, and then they actually speak. Using the intestines. They read the intestines of an animal, and then they begin to speak certain things about you who is going to be circumcised. So they invoke the words.
What do you mean read the intestines?
They actually look at them the way they are, and they are able to interpret.
Kwa hivyo tutachinja bull.
Yes, tutachinja.
Baada ya kuchinja,
Yes.
wale wazee watakuja.
Wazee watakuja, yes.
Waangalie intestines.
Wanaangalia na alafu wanazikata, because at the end you are supposed to be smeared by the...
Hiyo kinyesi.
Yes, hiyo kinyesi yenye iko hapo ndani ya intestines. Actually, you are smeared on your face. Yes.
Kwa hivyo wanasoma intestines.
Yes, they are able to read. And they are able actually to interpret and say some words of either cleansing or trying to protect you. Yes.
Alafu sasa wanakuja wanakupaka.
Then from there, yes, actually in a traditional way, the original traditional circumcision process, you are again now, after they have read, you are put at your neck. You carry and you walk with that hanging around your neck.
The intestine.
Yes, for some kilometers.
Najua lazima tuende polepole juu kwa wengi wetu tunasikia mara ya kwanza. And we are here, of course, we are not here to say that culture is bad.
Yeah, true.
But again, we are just looking at the spirituality of
Yes.
it. Hii bull tukichinja ni kama altar.
Is an altar, yes.
We are now initiating the
Yes.
Asian spirits.
Yes.
The spirits of the dead.
Exactly.
The spirit of the fathers, if we call them.
The fathers in that particular clan or tribe. Yes, then now they begin to prepare you for the transition that you are about to go.
Okay.
Yes. So from there, once you arrive, then there's a process that happens. Another aspect of the spirituality is now on the day of circumcision. Because after the night of having the dance, and I know you've seen this on TV when we are going through that process.
So that happens a day before.
A day before.
And then sasa
Now the
asubuhi.
following day, yes.
Asubuhi.
After dancing the whole night.
Oh, you have to dance the
Yes,
whole
you
night.
have to dance the whole night until morning. So from morning, then now you are taken to the river. Now at the river is another process.
With the intestines on your neck.
No, the intestines are removed immediately you arrive at your home.
Okay.
Yes, they are removed by a very specific person.
Okay.
Yes, when you arrive, it's not just anybody that removes that intestine. So after that, you are allowed to rest. Then now you start the night, the dances and all that. Yeah, you know, those chuma, let me call them the chuma that they actually knock. And if you have been keen, you've seen them. Yeah? Not like this. You play them.
Oh.
Yes. You need to watch, Pastor. So you need to watch some of these clips online. So they play that the whole night. Then in the morning, this young man is taken to the river. Now I want you to follow the process of how spiritual this act of transition for them is. So in the morning, very early, around 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you start walking and singing some very how can I put it? The songs, the type of songs that are sung, they are very specific in terms of invoking your spirit in readiness for the act. It's like they charge you. The songs.
Wow.
They prepare you. So you go to the river, then from the river, you come now. At the river, actually, there's a process that is done. You are smeared with the clay mud. And I think it's believed that helps you to reduce the pain that you're going to undergo. So from there is one thing that always has become a point of serious contention: the area that you are put on the head, especially among the Bukusu. Because that's where I come from. So I'm actually speaking on a more specific tradition. So that area that you're given is a very significant. It's not just any grass that is put here. There is a specific grass that they put on top of your head. So when you come, there is, you look like basically, I don't know how to describe that, but you just look someone that has just come from a certain place. Yes, very scary. Yes, it's an area. So very important.
You need to pick signals.
Yeah, so from there, then now you go back home. Then now you go through the card. There are those circumcisers who are trained. They are local people. And actually, before they do that, they undergo what we call some spirits. They invoke some spirits. You'll see them running up and down here and there because they are trying to invoke the spirits.
Wow.
So that they are now ready. Because you are also within the spirits, so they bring you into a place where you are able to communicate. And they will come actually and know whether you're ready or not. And they'll come and give a report, say this child is not ready. So they'll send someone to come and prepare you while you're walking from the river, coming for the place of cut. They normally do the circumcision around August, then the graduation is done in December.
So in this healing, are you put as a group or moneno na healia kwenu?
No, you go now you go into groups. Okay. You go into groups okay, for us as especially the community, the Bukusu clan, most of them they do it at their various homes. Okay. But then now these young men meet. There is what we call convergence. Now, they are not being trained at that particular point because, remember, for them, it happens in August, then the graduation happens in December. So, during this particular time, everybody operates from home. But now, during the preparation for graduation is when now they go in a central place. Okay. Yeah, they go in a central place, and that's where now they go and have some elders, those who have already gone through this, they come to talk to them and prepare them before graduation.
So now that's where now the values are transferred.
Yes. That's where now men begin to talk to them. And then now also on the graduation day. On the graduation day, there are certain elders that are invited, specific to talk to the young man who is graduating, telling them about values, telling them how they need to uphold family and uphold the tradition and the culture. They actually emphasize on their culture, ensuring that this young man doesn't deviate, so that they don't behave like women. So I think those are the conversations that happen during the graduation and the process towards graduation.
So at the end of the day, you are preparing this person to be a man.
To be a man, absolutely. That's what happens. So it's a very thorough process, Pastor T. Yeah, and it's very spiritual. So we need to be a bit appreciative of what they go through. But again, we need to be cautious because this is where people are initiated to some strong altars that keep then fighting their life and their family when now they are on this other part of
On
life.
the other
Yes.
side, doors are open at
Yes,
this time.
yes. So that's basically what happens around our tradition. And I think, especially like the Luya community, which is very significant with the issues with the circumcision, there are different clans within the Luya community that do it also differently. Like you look at the Tirikis, you look at the Maragolis, they actually do these things differently. Not like the Bukusus, but for us,
The Bukusus are the famous ones.
yes, we are the famous.
Nyinyi ndio makatela.
Sisi ndio wale wase.
Wow.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It's quite eye-opening.
Yes,
Number one,
yes.
I really appreciate the culture. I really appreciate the place.
Yes.
I really like it,
Yeah.
whereby we say that, you know, men are taught to be men.
Yes.
Because na feel ni kama, if nothing happens,
Yes.
we might lose that vibrancy
Yes.
and responsibility of men. And I think they say it's only a man who can speak to a man about some man issues.
Exactly.
But also now we are looking at this other spiritual side.
Yes.
Because I think the church has been vocal.
Yes.
And sometimes the church has been misunderstood.
Misunderstood.
Also, I also believe the church, some people have also been vocal without balance. Like unakuta ni kama scrap the whole culture. Na tumesema ni aje, everything to do with our culture is wrong. Yes. But that's not the reality.
Yeah.
There are very key elements in our culture that are very right. And you see what you've shared is actually, there are many elements that appear in other cultures.
Yes.
Wengine utakuta labda watavalishwa hiyo intestines, wazee watasoma intestines, but you realize mambo ya kwenda kwa mto asubuhi, you know, I don't know why they say when you take that cold shower, it kinda inakugandisha. That's why sasa you have to go through the process, and also the concept of when women meet you, they begin to know you're a man, and at that time, now you're fully separated. Now, I want us to discuss in the next segment, majorly about now, where do we draw the line, and how should the church be involved without necessarily washing away this cultural practice. Because saizi tukiangalia kama some of the attacks, tunaona there are so many young men who don't even have an identity. So many young men, tukiangalia slowly, unaanza kuona so many young people, they don't know who they are, they are not manning up, they are not responsible, wako tu, vile wanaishi na kuwa ni normal, na tuko kwa age ya girl child empowerment. So we'll be having this conversation. I want to believe it's December, but you see from the Bukusu, the December begins in August. It's a whole festival, August, September, October, November, December, 5 months of just going through the process, and also there is a whole graduation. What a time. But me like to stand out, niati the circumcision happens in public. Hapo ndo na separate between boys and men. Yani the whole community inaangalia going through the knife. Somehow, na feel ni kitu poa sana juu inakusaidia kwa mwanaume, lakini pia sijui hii generation ya glucose sijui kaitezana. But anyway, we'll be having this conversation immediately after the music break, and you know, we want to look now where the church comes in. So thank you very much for joining us once again. Tunaangalia mambo ya culture na pia beyond the cut circumcision. Season imefika, and sometimes ukidrive to around Nairobi, you find a lot of banners, circumcision, angels of a church. There's been a lot of noise. People are saying, you know what, this is our culture, allow us to handle some of these things. Let's handle our boys and we'll hand them over to the church. And the church is saying, you know what, some of the things you're doing are so spiritual. We've discipled these people from Sunday school. Then by the time they go through the cut, it looks like they are being diverted towards the wrong direction. And there's been a lot of debate on the matter, but we want to have a very balanced conversation. And I want to say thank you to Zenaria Suites Hotel for giving us this facility so that we can have this conversation. So Pasi, tuko kwa Bukusu. Mimi ni Mkikuyu. Na asi ati iko na tofauti kubwa. Kwetu ni kitu major sana. Na kwetu kuna jina unaweza tumia uite mtu mwenye ako circumcised, ukimuita hata anaweza kumada. Yani ni you know, jua ile ame go through. Ukimuita hiyo jina, it's a dishonor. It's a serious one. Us too, actually. Yes. It's a very serious dishonor. Especially in our community. You know, in our community, tumeanza kuona the elders rising again.
Yes.
You know, you hear of different communities, the kiamas and, you know, the thais.
Yeah.
They are rising.
They are rising, yes.
And of course, they are rising wanaanza kusema, no. Bring the boys back.
Yes.
Let us deal with the boys. We'll handle them back to arudisha church. Lakini pia church inaanza kusema, no. Some of the things mnawafundisha, they are contrary to what we actually believe. You spoke about invocation of altars
Yes.
at that stage.
Yeah, true. Because, you know, this is a very serious spiritual thing that is happening. And I think from a Christian context, especially circumcision from Judaism and all that is something that is very serious and is taken on a very serious context. And it's important for us to know that as Christians, for a long time we have sat on the back. We have been we didn't see the value initially, and most of the pastors and allow me just to say that most of them actually went through the traditional cut before maybe they met Christ. They met the truth, and they allowed themselves to be able to stand as believers or Christians. So there's the understanding of the traditional culture and especially the entire process. And for that, the church has come over age, over time, and it has realized the impacts, the sensitivity, because initially maybe no one actually brought the understanding of how those altars operate, how those altars are serious. And therefore, with this awareness, now the church is coming out very strongly and saying, we are taking our boys and our young men to these traditional altars, traditional gods. They're invoking the traditional gods. And where are we taking them? As Christians, then we need to play a part. And I'm glad, Pastor T, to say that quite a number of churches, especially our mainstream churches, they are playing a critical role. And I've participated in many of these functions, just actually training the boys and talking to the boys in these platforms where they have been brought together, 200 boys, 100 boys, 50 boys, who have been for almost a whole week or 2 weeks been taken through the initiation program.
Let's talk about on your personal journey.
Yes.
Did you struggle with, can you say, going through the traditional process, did you struggle with any altar in your life?
Personally, I wouldn't mention like I really struggled, because one of the advantages that I had is being also raised up in a Christian family. As much as the altars and the forces of the traditional culture ensured that we don't do it in a Christian way, we were actually, my parents, on a very, they were pushed to the extreme to accept the tradition, so that us as children, I'm actually the last born. So that means all of us, we went through the same culture. But the beauty is that with that environment where our parents were Christian, we were like
Kama mulisnachiwa.
tulisnachiwa, yes, tuliwekwa kando kidogo, so that we don't. And even when we went for those sessions, we could come back and we realized there is a place where you're coming back for.
Okay.
So that helped us to ensure that then we remain anchored in the right journey. So for me, I didn't have time, and neither my brothers, we didn't have a big struggle, especially with those altars. But I have seen some of the young men that have gone through that. They're actually really struggling, especially issues around family, issues around polygamy. It's a big thing. They are really struggling with those altars of polygamy and all that. It's a big blow for them.
Yeah, because I know traditionally unaambiwa it's okay to marry many women.
Okay, yes.
Biblically unakuta it's different. Culture is very powerful.
Yeah.
Na utakuta saa zingine hauna authority.
Yes.
Kijana ameokoka, kijana amekuwa ndani ya msingi ya Kristo, ni class 8 amemaliza. Na kabisa wazazi wamemforce.
Yes.
Hana say, kwa sababu is less than 18.
Yeah.
Atumie nje ya culture. How can that young man be helped?
Yeah.
Later, because you see, hana authority.
Yes.
Maybe amechukuliwa amepelekwa Western. Na ameambiwa sasa hapa si tunafanyanga hivi.
Exactly.
And they say, kwa hizo 4 gates, birth,
Yes.
Circumcision,
Yes.
marriage na death.
Yes.
Juu hapo Ukristo wetu unakuanga tested.
Yes.
Juu hata kuna watu wameokoka lakini unasikia wanasema lakini kikwetu kinyumbani.
Kikwetu, yes.
Kinyumbani hivi ndio sisi hufanya.
That's true.
So what happens to that young person?
For any young man who is actually being taken into this circumcision process or traditional cultural initiation process, just to understand that there is something that needs to be done beyond that. And my hope is that they will be able to encounter people along the way, because these were now the different programs that are there can be able to help, especially the Christian programs, so that as they encounter these programs, that is when now they begin to get the help, so that they can find the right direction in terms of their life and what God really expects for their life. Yes.
Wow, so we spoke about the altars, the
Yes.
invocation, and
Yes.
all that.
Yeah.
Ile kitu ingine nimeona ni
Yes.
sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, culture is very powerful.
Yes.
That kama nimetoka community fulani na mimi ni mtu naheshimika,
Yes.
wale wazee wanakuanga na so much influence.
Influence.
So unaweza kuta irrespective ya Ukristo wangu,
Yes.
I still want that community acceptance and value.
Yes.
And sometimes unakuta I have to do what they want so that at least ile heshima
Yes.
ibaki na pia nisikia nimekubalika. Pia kuna wale wanafilingi
Yes.
wewe ukuenda ya kibukusu, ye ulienda tuitambui.
Yes.
So you look like you're a lesser man.
Exactly, and that happens a lot, especially those ones who are actually taken through. Maybe their parents just went to hospital and then they just did their thing. For those young men, they go a lot of stigma in our culture. They undergo a lot of stigma, and they actually not recognized. I like the words you've used. You feel like you are a lesser man. You actually made to feel like you are a lesser man. So that happens a lot, and that's why the attachment to the tradition, cultural circumcision process. But let me point this, Pastor T, that this traditional thinking around circumcision is slowly being watered, and in terms of the strength that it used to have, like in the 90s when some of us were going through the process, in the early 2000s, it is actually not having the same strength it used to have in those years. So right now, I think there is a lot of accommodation with the Christian values.
And also integration.
Yes, the integration, yes, which is making it a bit better.
So when the church comes on board,
Yes.
how can they integrate
Yes.
traditional values
Yes.
and still not lose their Christian values?
I think where the church can really play that is in terms of ensuring that they participate in the process, the traditional process, not at the initial stages,
Not the
but
spiritual.
the
Not the spiritual part.
yes. Okay, what I'm trying to bring is the church has a very important role. At the point when these young people are being taken through their own culture, the church must be at the back to ensure that these young people, as much as they are trying to embrace the good things, good aspects of the culture, at the same time, they are not going off. And that's where I'm using an example, because there is an advice where I have seen the Christian leaders and pastors actually advise certain things that they now invoke or bring the initiation process to the traditional gods being eliminated. So they tell you, you're going to go through this, but this and this, then you're not supposed to go through through it. Like those hanging, the reading of the intestine, all those things, they are actually eliminated along the process. So that then now even in the going to the river, so that you are umewekwa hiyo area, it's eliminated in the process. So that then now even at the last graduation, the person that is talking and giving those affirmation and the words of counsel is a spiritual leader, is a pastor actually. So that is able now to ensure that as much as you have gone through the process, the cut process, which is more traditional, which we value, but there are things that we have ensured that it has not, you have not gone through the entire process. And I think my encouragement to the church and to the Christians out here, I think as much as the culture is bad, there are things that we can actually embrace and integrate them within what we are also doing.
So what we need to say here,
Yes.
there is a part in the culture
Yes.
which is 100% spiritual.
Yes, true.
And that is the part we are saying, listen,
Yes.
this is now idol worship.
Idol worship.
This is invocation of spirits
Yes.
that don't agree with our scripture.
Yes.
But there is a part of the culture
Yes.
that is 100% agreeable
Yes.
in terms of values,
Yes.
in terms of guidelines and instructions,
Yes.
raising a responsible man.
Yes.
So that now ikifika ni pale kwa mstari wa
Yes.
spirituality, tunasema we come from another order
Yes.
of spirituality.
Exactly.
But hizi zingine hatuna shida.
Yes.
Hatuna shida mzee wa kijiji akitukaisha chini.
Yes.
Because even a man who's not born again has some wisdom. We can't
That's
reject
right.
that.
That's right.
Kuna mtu tu kwa sababu ya miaka yake anaweza kupatia a few wisdoms about life, and that person will take you very far.
Yes.
And also a man who's also born again will also give you wisdom
Yes.
in the lines of light.
Yes.
So there's another question na ni kama inanipotea kidogo.
Yes.
But najua nitaikumbuka.
Yes.
time ikinipamit wakati tumeingia hapo kwa mambo ya culture.
Yes.
Saizi nimekumbuka.
Yeah.
Kuna generation
Yes.
haijui culture, haijui Bible.
Yes.
Wao hufanya culture kama tourist. Masikia bro, man, this thing is cool, you know, like going back to our roots, bro.
Yes.
They are not deep in Christianity.
Yes.
And so they are trying to attempt. Nimewaona sana.
Yes.
You know, utaona wakisema maybe ni aje narudi Ocha.
Yes.
You know, we are doing this thing. So ni kama wanarudi home kama ma tourist. What is the risk of that?
I think we have a lot of challenge, especially this generation, because they are neither grounded in terms of Christian values, neither are they grounded in their culture, because they have been brought up in an urban setup, and I think from a cosmopolitan environment where there is no attachment to a certain culture or values or all that. I think we have a risk with this generation. And my advice would be we need to be able to create more platforms that we now begin to do a lot of mentorship.
Okay.
We need to do a lot of conversations. We need to engage them. We need to bring them, whether we're going to use the church as a platform or different meetings, but we need to be able to bring this awareness so that they do not take these issues casually, because that's basically what they are doing. They are taking Christianity casually. They are taking the cultural issues casually.
Some of these spiritual things,
Yes.
they're taking them casually.
Yes.
And later they end up becoming casualties.
Casualties, yes. Yeah. So that's where we are, and we must be able, and I like the voices that people are having around with different organizations. And I think our assignment is, how can we be able to bring light to this generation? How can we be able to tell them what is right and ensure that they remain anchored to that truth?
And they remain anchored to the truth.
Yes, yes.
So what is that one thing that you want to say to someone who's a parent making
Yes.
that decision in this season?
Yes.
And what is that one thing that you might want to just advise them as you face that camera?
All right. One of the things that I would want to advise, especially the parents, because I know this is a season where we are going into a lot of transition, rites of passage experiences, being done by different people, being done by different organizations. There are people out here who are anchored on right values. There are Christian organizations who are doing this initiation process. They are doing these trainings. They are doing this process of preparing this young man to become a more responsible man. My advice to the parents is do the due diligence. And first, look at what is this that you are anchored on. What are your values? Where do you want to take your child? Are you, as a believer, as a Christian, would you like your child to be anchored on the traditional cultural things, or you would like your child to be anchored on values, on things that also represent the Christ or represent who you are as a believer? And I think that for me is very critical. Number two, even as I just close this, is it's important for every young man to know that this process is not just another place for enjoyment, or maybe you are just being taken a place so that you can, is a place of learning, is a place of transformation. And therefore it is good that as you go into this process, that you are open-minded to learn, and at the end you come out a more better person. It's very, very important. We have so many organizations here. I will really advise that we do a lot of due diligence. I have had so many young men who have gone through this process and they have come out even more worse than the way they went in. So it's important that we do that due diligence and we know where are we taking. Ask, make references before you commit. The churches are here also. They are doing this at different locations. Please get in touch, seek the advice, and you'll be able to be guided as a parent. Wow. So that you make the right decision.
That's very powerful. I really agree with you. Some people have also made this to be a business.
Yeah, true.
Where you pay, they get your children, they don't care about them. Yes. So I want to believe if you're there as a parent, please be sensitive to whom you hand your child over to. You've raised that child with a lot of investment. Let this one season, 1 month can destroy almost 12, 13 years of investment of the right values. Remember, what we are looking for is beyond the cut. What kind of a man will that person be? Thank you very much, Pastor, for gracing this. I believe this conversation nafaa kuendelea na kuendelea, but naamini ya kwamba itatendeka, and more so to the single mothers, kwa sababu kuna wale unakuta baba yuko, mama yuko, they're able to handle. Majority of the people suffering is single mothers, because I feel this is a man process. I'm not a man who will handle my man. So if you're there, just do your due diligence, invest, and also be sensitive. Kuna watu wako biashara, let them not do business with your children. Pastor Tim Mwangi, see you at the Crossroad. So thank you and welcome back to the Crossroad segment. When we look at the origin of circumcision biblically, it was God who initiated it. And it was the Lord who was planting the covenant upon the life of Abraham. This was supposed to be an everlasting covenant, and circumcision was a sign to remind Abraham of the covenant. In the Judaistic culture, it was very significant. Anyone who identified as a Jew needed to be circumcised on the 8th day. Number 8 is the number of new beginning, because that child rose to the new dawn of becoming a covenantal partner with Abraham. In the early church, there were a lot of controversy, because Paul brought the essence of what was more important was the circumcision of the heart and not the circumcision of the body. This tells us that the Gentiles did not really circumcise. But later, we now came to civilization, and we discovered that circumcision helped in hygiene, and also circumcision is the cutting of excess flesh. So naturally and spiritually, it's also a symbol of just dealing with the flesh. But the greatest knife that can pass through a man is the knife of the word, to pierce through the spirit and the marrows and align them to the will of God. Culturally, this became a very important point of transition. And for me, I consider this as a major gate, because there are only 3 major gates of destiny where the enemy waits for people: the gate of birth, the gate of initiation, and the gate of marriage. Many have lost it after the gate of initiation, and many also got it right. And my prayer is, as a parent, as a young man listening today, man that gate with a lot of intensity, because your destiny depends on how you manage that gate. May God bless you. Pastor Tim Mwangi is my name. I want to say thank you to KBC, the ANGAZA family, the people behind the camera, and also the amazing hotel for giving us this facility and allowing us to be here. May God bless you. See you next.